title. I froze in shock as my cheating wife threw divorce papers on the table and smirked. I've been with an incredible man for 8 months now. He's better than you in every way. And if you even think about touching him, I'll have you locked up. My blood boiled, but I stayed silent. Because my revenge was already in motion, I had always known something was wrong. For months, Sophie had been distant, coming home late, taking calls in hushed whispers, hiding her phone as if I was some stranger rather than her husband of 8 years. I wasn't naive. I had suspected. I had noticed, but nothing prepared me for this. She stood before me, poised, confident, smirking. A stack of crisp divorce papers landed on the table with a casual toss, her manicured nails tapping against the polished wood. I've been with an incredible man for 8 months now, she said, her voice laced with cruel amusement. He's better than you in every way. My jaw tightened. My grip curled into a fist beneath the table, and then she leaned in. And if you even think about touching him, I'll have you locked up. That was the moment I stopped feeling pain. No anger, no sadness, no heartbreak, just calm. Because she had no idea. My revenge was already in motion. Sophie thought she had won. She thought she had stripped me of my dignity, backed me into a corner where I would crumble. She didn't realize I had seen this coming. I had spent weeks preparing. Quietly, methodically. While she had been sneaking around, basking in her little affair, I had been setting the pieces in place. The house, under my name. Her luxury car, on my lease. Her bank accounts, joint. Which meant I had already moved the majority of our shared funds into my private account. I had been watching her, studying her. And now, as she smirked at me with triumph, she had no idea her entire life was about to collapse. But I didn't react. I simply nodded, picking up the divorce papers, flipping through them like they were nothing more than a casual work document. You want a divorce? I said, my voice smooth. Fine. Sophie blinked. She had expected yelling, begging, a fight, but I gave her nothing. Instead, I smiled. Get your things, I said, my tone almost amused. Because you won't be staying here. Her smirk faltered. What? I gestured around. This house? Mine? Your car? Mine? Your little, comfortable life? I let out a slow chuckle. Gone. Her confidence wavered, but she recovered quickly. I'll just move in with him. I leaned back, crossing my arms. Oh, you mean Damien? Her face drained of color. Bullseye. How do you know his name? She whispered. I chuckled. Oh, Sophie, did you really think you could have an affair for 8 months and I wouldn't find out? She stiffened. You... I raised a hand, cutting her off. Let me tell you a story, I said, my voice smooth. A man finds out his wife is cheating. He doesn't react. Instead, he investigates. And what does he find? I let the words hang. Let her sweat. Finally, I continued. He finds out that her lover isn't the successful businessman she thinks he is. Sophie's lips parted slightly, her breath uneven. He finds out that this incredible man is actually drowning in debt, that he's living in a rented apartment funded by his rich older brother, that he has 3 failed businesses, that he has a nasty habit of borrowing money from dangerous people. Sophie was pale now. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? I mused. Leaving a stable, comfortable life for a fraud? She staggered back slightly. You're lying. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. Am I? She picked it up with trembling hands. And there it was. Screenshots of Damien's debt records, proof of his failed businesses, legal documents showing the money he owed to some very dangerous people. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. Still think he's better than me in every way? I asked, arching a brow. Her hands shook. But don't worry, I said, standing up. You'll have plenty of time to figure things out. Since, you know. I gestured toward the door. You won't be staying here. She refused to leave at first. You can't kick me out, she hissed. I just laughed. Oh, Sophie, I already did. And that's when she noticed. Her credit cards? Declined. Her bank account? Drained. Her belongings? Already packed in a suitcase by the door. You... She choked on her words. You took everything? I smiled. No, sweetheart, you threw everything away. She stood there, frozen, completely, utterly powerless. And then she did something pathetic. She grabbed her phone, dialed Damien. I watched, amused, as her face fell, straight to voicemail. I let out a soft chuckle. Oh, right, I forgot to mention. Damien? He's in trouble. Sophie's head snapped up. What? I sighed dramatically. Seems he borrowed money from the wrong people. And when certain photos of him with you made their way to his debt collectors, her lips trembled. What did you do? I smirked. I simply accelerated the inevitable. The reality hit her all at once. Damien was gone. She had nowhere to go. She had nothing left. She turned back to me, eyes desperate. Nathan, I held up a hand. Don't bother. A long silence. Then finally she broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I made a mistake, she whispered. I stared at her, unmoved. Yes, I said simply. You did. She took a shaky step forward. Please, Nathan, just one more chance. I looked her dead in the eyes and delivered the final blow. I wouldn't take you back if you were the last woman on earth. She let out a choked sob. And I turned away. Sophie stood frozen in the doorway, her world crumbling around her. I had watched her smirk with confidence just hours ago. She thought she had won, that she had me wrapped around her finger. But now, she was a wreck. Her hands trembled as she clutched the divorce papers she had thrown on the table, believing she was in control. But control had slipped from her grasp. Please, Nathan, she choked out. I have nowhere to go. I leaned against the counter, sipping my drink slowly, letting her suffer. You should have thought about that, I said calmly, before you threw away your life for a man who's currently running for his. She flinched. What do you mean? I chuckled, shaking my head. Oh, Sophie, did you really think Damien could just walk away from his debts? That his business partners wouldn't notice he's been living large on borrowed money? Her face paled. Where is he? I checked my watch. Probably halfway to nowhere by now. But those people he owes? I smirked. They don't forget. Sophie stumbled back, gripping the door frame like her knees were about to give out. But you said... I said I accelerated the inevitable. I tilted my head, watching her panic unfold. What do you think happens when a desperate man with a gambling problem suddenly gets exposed? Tears streamed down her face. Oh my God. I shrugged. Actions have consequences, sweetheart. You just didn't expect to face yours. She collapsed onto the couch, completely broken. But I wasn't done yet. The next morning, the news broke. Local businessman Damien Clark disappears amid financial scandal. Authorities investigate possible connections to organized crime. I smirked as I read the headline, sipping my coffee. Perfect. Damien had skipped town, knowing full well what was coming for him. His debts, his fraudulent deals, his dangerous connections, all exposed. I had made sure of it. Sophie? She had spent the night calling him, texting him, begging, but there was no answer. She was alone, and that's when she tried to crawl back to me. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, tear-streaked, makeup ruined, looking nothing like the confident woman who had tossed divorce papers in my face. Nathan, she whispered, voice trembling. Can we talk? I set my coffee down, meeting her desperate gaze. Talk about what? She wiped at her face, inhaling shakily. Us. I raised an eyebrow. There is no us. Her breath hitched. Please. I know I messed up, but I don't want to lose you. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I laughed. A deep, cruel laugh. You don't want to lose me? I repeated. Sophie, you threw me away. For him. She opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. You humiliated me. You looked me in the eye and said he was better than me in every way. I leaned closer, voice razor sharp. How's that working out for you? She flinched. I was stupid. I leaned back, smirking. Yes, you were. Tears welled in her eyes again. Nathan, I love you. I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. No, you love the life I gave you. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I wouldn't take you back if you were the last woman on earth. Her face crumpled. Her last hope. Gone. She sobbed. What am I supposed to do? I stood up, picking up my coffee, completely unmoved. You'll figure it out. And then I walked away. For good. Sophie left that morning with nowhere to go. With Damien gone, she had no one to turn to. She tried calling her friends, but no one wanted to associate with the woman who had lost everything. And me? I was better than ever. Weeks passed. I finalized the divorce on my terms. Sophie walked away with nothing. Her glamorous life, gone. Her perfect future with Damien, destroyed. Her reputation, in ruins. And then, one afternoon as I was enjoying a quiet drink at a high-end bar, I saw her sister, Claire. She slid into the seat across from me, studying me carefully. You really did it, she said softly. I took a sip. Did what? She smirked. You took them both down. I shrugged. I just let karma do its job. She chuckled, stirring her drink. You don't regret anything? I smirked. Not a damn thing. She leaned back, shaking her head. You know, Sophie's been calling me nonstop, begging for help. I told her the same thing you did. I raised a brow. And that is? Claire smiled. Not my problem. I clinked my glass against hers, feeling lighter than I had in years. Some betrayals break you, but if you're smart, they make you stronger. And I had never been stronger. Months later, I sat in my penthouse, watching the London skyline, reflecting on everything. I had lost a wife, I had lost a friend, but I had gained something far more valuable, freedom. I had walked away without looking back. And Sophie? Last I heard, she was living in a cheap apartment, struggling to find a job. The woman who once had everything was now nothing, because she made the mistake of thinking I was weak. She underestimated me. But I never lose. As I took another sip of my drink, I smirked. Revenge wasn't just about payback. It was about making sure they never recovered. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. If this story moved you, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Lauren's story. I've noticed that over 80% of you watch these stories but aren't subscribed yet. One simple click helps bring you more powerful tales just like this. By subscribing, you're not just following a channel, you're joining a community that values deep, meaningful storytelling. Let's continue exploring these heartfelt journeys together. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss our next gripping story.